Finally, you're about to enter committee when all of a sudden, bam! What are all these documents? What do they mean? Alright, don't fret. I've got this. There are 5 documents here, and it looks like some of them are familiar. We've got our trusty directive and backroom note, but there are 3 other documents in the mix. This one's called communique, this one's called press release, and this one's called JPD. It seems like it stands for Joint Personal Directive. Before I get to the new documents, I want to review the 2 older ones and add some additional information. Starting off, we have the directive. As stated earlier in the series, a directive can use a delegate's portfolio powers to accomplish a goal. However, in some committees, the committee as a whole also has its own powers that can be added in. For example, in our good old friend President Bush's Crisis Committee, if the entirety of Congress were sitting in committee, the committee as a whole would have the power to declare war, as designated by the United States Constitution. This could be added to a directive. Since President Bush wants to invade Canada, if he manages to persuade the committee to vote yes on a directive that declares war on Canada, he'd be advancing his crisis arc without the committee knowing. In your committees, delegates may try to slip in clauses into directives that allow them to advance their motives. If those motives don't align with yours, you need to stop them. Beside the directive stands the backroom note. Being the foundation of crisis, backroom notes easily take the throne for the most direct way to advance your crisis arc. They are traditionally used to send secret letters to people outside the committee, usually those you have connections to. You can ask to start research, hire a hitman, or even destroy the stock market. Just make sure you write the letter extremely detailed, or backroom will twist your words against you. Speaking of backroom, since it's a different person reading and responding to your backroom notes, you should always put a TLDR at the end of your crisis notes. This way, the crisis analyst reading your backroom note will be clear on what you're trying to accomplish with whatever it is you have written. Additionally, when you send your first backroom note, you must have a TLDR stating your end goal in the committee, aka the end of your crisis arc. Any TLDRs after must show how your backroom note is related to accomplishing this goal. Time for the new stuff. A communique. Now what could that possibly be? Well, say President Bush's committee is struggling with getting resources to prepare for their war. Their entire committee could write a communique, a written statement to an exterior organization asking for their support. The support can be anything, really, from monetary to mental help. You do not need to write a communique to an organization that already has a spokesperson in the committee. That person likely already has the powers of that organization on standby. The main difference between a communique and a directive is that a directive includes actions, a communique includes requests. Directives are the only way to respond to a crisis update, as communiques really can't do that much to respond to a significant alteration in committee. However, communiques help increase committee power for writing later directives. A press release is exactly what it sounds like. A press release. A press release is usually issued to alert or calm down a group of people. These can replace directives in extremely specific scenarios, but most of the time, if a press release is needed, it should be motioned onto the floor in the middle of response to a crisis update, or voted on alongside a directive. That's pretty much it. JPDs, or Joint Personal Directives, sound really complex, but they aren't any more than a multi-person backroom note. Yeah, it's really that simple. A JPD is a backroom note that has multiple authors. This way, you can pool the resources of multiple delegates into a backroom note for per se starting a research facility or contribute together to plot to overthrow the committee and gain control. A JPD should be formatted like a backroom note, but should include sponsors, typically listed at the end of the backroom note in letter format and at the top of the page. That looks like all the documents we needed to cover. So long. Stay tuned to see how to put all the previously discussed information together.